Welcome back to another episode of Weights and Wealth. I'm Nick, here with my co-host Ted, and we have a very special episode for you guys today, something we've been looking forward to doing. We have 12 actionable steps that you can take today to really improve your financial and health situation.
Yeah, we've been really excited about this episode because I think it really gets at the core of what we wanted to do here with Weights and Wealth in terms of bringing really basic quality information on these two subjects to people, and then making sure that it's stuff that they can take action on, things that people can really implement easily into their lives to increase their chances of success and really improve with their weights and their wealth. Also, make sure you stick around to the end of the episode. I don't know why you wouldn't listen to the whole episode, but in case you were thinking of dipping out early, we do have the first installment of the Weights and Wealth book club coming at the end of this episode, so make sure you stick around. Our goal is to have a monthly book club that the listeners take part in and read along with us, and we'll just do a monthly weight and a monthly wealth book, if you will. But we're really excited to bring this episode to you because we've got 12 steps, as Nick said, that you should be able to take action on immediately if you're not already doing these things.
So kicking us off with our first step that we got today is back to planning. This goes back to, I think, episode 2. Where we have to create a budget, and you can go download the budget template that's on our website. That's a good first step. Another one would be to look at last year's bank statements to figure out where you're spending, and then kind of creating a goal for your spending the next month.
Yeah, if you've never created a budget before, the template that Nick made, you should be able to create a budget for the first time, and there are instructions that go along with it. And if you're having any confusion, feel free to reach out to us. Again, we don't necessarily give medical or financial or investing advice on this show. It's more for your entertainment. But we would like to help you guys in any way possible, so reach out if you have questions along with that. The second tip is our weight tip, and going along with the planning theme as we touched in episode 2, have a program. If you don't have a program, you can still write things down. So if you're not following a lifting program, if you don't want to spend the money and get an online program or an in-person trainer or an online coach that makes you a custom program, although I think those things are great investments and will help you greatly with your lifting and give you a lot more bang for your buck in terms of the time that you put into the gym. If you're just not willing to spend money on a program, I highly recommend that you write down what you're doing so that you can progressively overload over time. Nick, have you ever seen that guy that exists in every gym that carries around a notebook and a pen and writes down what he does?
Yep, you gotta love the notebook guy. I don't know exactly what he's writing down in there all the time. I'm assuming it's just exactly what he's doing, but I think that the Notes app works just fine for me.
Yes, the Notes app is a great way to do it. I personally, if I'm not on a program for some reason, this would usually be if I'm like for 2 or 3 weeks in between programs and have a really hectic schedule, or I'm on the go. Maybe I won't be on a program for a couple weeks. I'll just use it as almost like a little bit of a deload, and I'll try out new exercises and new machines. But I'll write down in the Google Sheets app what I'm doing. I'll write down the exercise, the sets, the reps, the weight, and then since I'm in Sheets, I can add a color to those boxes. I can put down green if it was really easy. I can put down yellow if it was moderate difficulty, or I can put down red if I hit failure. And I would encourage anyone that's not going to spend money on a program or get a program from someone to just write down, either whether it's on pen and paper or the Notes app or in Google Sheets or on a clay tablet, write down what you're doing at the gym so that you can improve over time.
I like the clay tablet. I think I'm going to start doing that.
5,000 years ago, that's how they did it. On to you with the next tip for the people, Nick.
Next one we have is to open an IRA, and it's really easy to open an IRA. You can just go to any, Vanguard, Charles Schwab. This is only for those of you who are working. You can contribute up to $6,000 a year.
Yep.
And better yet, you can automate it. So you can have automated weekly or monthly transactions from your checking account to automatically deposit it into the IRA.
Yeah, and that's a step you can take immediately. And I think one of the key things you hit there is you can do up to $6,000 a year in your IRAs.
Yeah, that's correct. And the IRAs have just as many options as you do investing through a taxable brokerage account, which is one of the advantages that IRAs have over a 401k, because 401ks tend to be more limited.
Do it now, guys.
Yeah.
Might as well. You can take that step today. The second weights tip that I have for you, we have hit, I think, 3 or 4 different times on this show already. Eat 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. If you don't know your lean body weight, you can simply use your goal body weight. So if you are like Nick and you're 190 pounds and you're trying to get to 200 pounds, 200 grams of protein a day is a very good target for you. If you are someone that is trying to lose weight, maybe you're 200 pounds, you're trying to get down to 180, you're trying to lose some weight, burn some fat, use 180 grams, your goal weight, as that weight that you convert to the grams of protein. And hitting that 1 gram per pound of body weight is really good for building muscle or for holding on to muscle if you're cutting. So eat that protein, track it. If you've never tracked your food intake before, you can download an app right now. MyFitnessPal, LifeSum is the one that I use. Chronometer is another one. There's a bunch of apps out there that allow you to scan the barcodes of what you're eating or type in what you're eating and track the calories and the macros of what you're eating, and you can see how much protein you're eating, and you can take that step today.
Yeah. So on to step number 3, we got packing your lunch.
Pack your lunch.
Which this is both a health and wealth topic.
Yeah, so this is tip 5 and 6. This is a double tip right here.
Yeah, double whammy. So packing your lunch, it's really easy to spend $10, $12, $15 at lunch every day easily. At work.
Yeah.
It saves you some time, but you can easily make a packed lunch for $3 or $4. It's a third of the cost of eating out every day and can really save you a lot of money in the long run. Taking the weekends especially to meal prep. Meal prepping is something that it doesn't take that long. It's much easier than making a new meal like the night before every single work day. I'll cook 4 or 5 pounds of chicken in a crock pot and I have lunch for the next few days.
And that's so cheap. If you're doing chicken and rice, obviously we don't want you doing the bodybuilder-esque diet of only broccoli, chicken, and rice. But for an example, if you're doing chicken and rice, that's so cheap, especially if you're doing it in bulk, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can throw some frozen veggies in there. You can buy those at bulk too. There's so many options if you're going to meal prep in bulk that will be a third, a fourth, a fifth of the cost of eating out. And then on my side of it, it's going to be so much healthier for you too. It's going to be way easier to get your protein that you're trying to hit. It's going to be way easier to get micronutrients if you're eating a larger serving of meat, and if you're adding your own vegetables. It's going to be lower in calories if you're not adding a bunch of fat and oils like the restaurants are going to do to make it taste better. And you can still make it taste good if you know what you're doing in the kitchen. If you don't know what you're doing in the kitchen, Nick and I would love to help you. We do plan on doing a series on YouTube for cooking in the
tutorials.
Kitchen. Yeah, we're not chefs by any means, but we've both been cooking for a very long time and love the food that we make and almost prefer it oftentimes to eating out, I would say. So we will have those tutorials coming out at some point, and make sure you are packing your lunch to save money and eat healthier.
On to our next health topic would be to kick addictions and try to get rid of your vices. Now, this is easier said than done. Addiction is a real health problem.
And a wealth problem.
And
the
a
amount
wealth
of money
problem
that you're spending, yeah.
Right, yeah. So one of the best ways to try to do that is to associate your vice with a negative behavior, or you can replace that with a positive behavior. So, if you're really stressed at work and you tend to turn towards alcohol, you can try to replace that with reading a book or going to the gym after work.
Yeah, or prayer or meditation. One of our 5 F's, or the 5 pillars that we talk about here at Weights and Wealth, is faith. That's very important to us, and we think it's a huge component of your health and your wealth. And regardless of your religious practices or preferences, we feel that prayer, or some people would call it meditation, can be very, very helpful for helping to relieve your stress. The next one that we have for you is the weights topic, and that is 8 hours of sleep a night. This is something that you can start today. There are so many studies out there that show how prioritizing your sleep and getting 8 hours instead of 5 or 6 hours leads to better gains, better fat loss, better pizza, Papa John's,
Yeah, and this can also help you at work too. If you're on 5-6 hours of sleep at night, you're not going to be thinking as clearly.
Yeah, absolutely. There's studies that show how much the amount of sleep you get affects cognition. And I've done posts before that we can put in the show notes that show just the difference, like in a bar graph, of the amount of muscle that a group will gain that gets 8 hours of sleep a night versus a group that's getting 5 hours a night. And then also on the other side, the amount of fat loss that occurs in a group that gets 5 hours a night versus the group that gets 8 hours a night. It's really remarkable, especially for people that are like actually bulking or cutting. If you're bulking and you're getting 8 hours of sleep a night, the amount of weight you gain, you're gonna have a lot more muscle gained compared to fat gained if you get more sleep. And if you don't get enough sleep, you're gonna have more fat gain than muscle gain. And then with cutting, if you're getting enough sleep, you're gonna lose more fat and less muscle. Whereas if you're not getting a lot of sleep, you wind up losing more muscle and less fat, which nobody wants to do. So it really does make a big difference. I know that a lot of us really aspire to the hustle and the grind, and we really want to work hard, but if you do get more sleep, you will perform better. It's going to be better in the long run. I know in college we kind of struggled with this, perhaps me a little more than you, Nick, but like with being a volunteer EMT and ROTC and my STEM majors, it was really, really difficult for me to get more than like 4 hours of sleep during the weekdays. And that really, really impacted my gains during college. And I think I saw a lot of growth in the gym once I graduated and I was able to kind of prioritize sleep more.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so moving on to our next wealth topic, we have starting your emergency fund. A lot of Americans can't cover even $100 emergency, and this can lead you into going to credit card debt, which, when they're charging 18-20%, that's not good. So what we want to do is set up automatic transfers from your checking account to a savings account so that you can cover these emergencies. It's really recommended to have at least 3 months saved up so that you can cover just your living expenses in case you get laid off, or you have, big car problem, or something goes wrong in your house, that you can easily cover these expenses.
From a business side, I think it's important for people that have small businesses to do this as well. Keep cash in the bank. We saw during COVID what happened to businesses that didn't have cash set aside in the bank. They all closed immediately, and it was really sad. But on the personal side or on the business side, if you're starting a small business, make sure that you are keeping cash in the bank, because you never know what's going to happen and when you're going to need some nuts squirreled away for a long winter, The next tip that I have for you is replacing your liquid calories. So a really easy way to get extra calories is to drink them, whether we're talking about soda or alcohol or even something like whole milk. You can get a lot of calories really quickly by drinking them. Protein shakes would be another example. If you put like oats and peanut butter and stuff in a protein shake, or probably the best example that I think really sneaks up on people is those morning coffee milkshakes, as I call them. Those Starbucks mocha, frappe, iced latte, vanilla, white chocolate, cappuccino. I don't know what any of the words mean, but just drink black coffee. Or if you don't like the taste of black coffee, but you like coffee drink, adding a little bit of milk and a little bit of sugar is going to be way less calories than those crazy drinks that you get at those coffee shops that are essentially milkshakes, but people just call them coffee so they feel better about drinking them, I think. But if you're drinking one of those drinks that has 600 calories in it, like, a lot of people have no idea how many calories they're drinking. And if you're able to cut out those calories and replace them with water, then you're going to be way better off if you struggle with weight gain or you're struggling with losing weight and you're not tracking your calories. And if you don't like the taste of water, this is something that really kind of irks me for some reason when people say they don't like the taste of water.
Water doesn't really have a taste, does it?
I think it's people that are really used to drinking soda. They just don't like the taste of water. I don't know. Try like a seltzer or a sparkling water if you need that something. And if you need that like carbonation or just that extra something, try sparkling water. But I think the calories that come from drinks really sneak up on people a lot.
Yeah, and so does the price. This is a health topic as much as it is a wealth topic. If you're paying $2-3 for a soda, water's free. You can drink water, it just comes out of the faucet. Yeah. It pretty much is. You have to pay a little bit for it, but and
that's another double whammy topic too. So our two double whammies here today are packing your lunch and avoiding these liquid calorie drinks. Those are our two double whammy steps. So just doing those two things, starting to pack your lunch and replacing your liquid calories with water, those two things are going to help you a long way in the health and wealth categories.
Yeah, so now it's time for our bonus topic, Ted.
Ooh, a bonus topic. Nick,
to read
what is our bonus tip?
10 minutes a day.
Read 10 minutes a day. I guess that's a really good intro into our book club.
Mm-hmm.
Our weights book for the month of January is The Resistance Training Revolution by Sal Stefano, one of the hosts of the Mind Pump podcast. Sal is a really, really good communicator and has a gift when it comes to breaking things down to a really basic level. The Resistance Training Revolution covers how resistance training should be the way that the majority of people spend most of their time working out. for a long time, doctors would recommend to people cardio as a way to work out. They say, hey, you got to start exercising. People would put some running shoes on and go out for a jog. But the benefits that you get from resistance training, I feel, far outweigh the benefits, just the calorie burn or the movement that you get from cardio. Being able to get stronger and improve your bone density and have more confidence in being able to move and lift things. Like, these are things that aren't just important to like the young men or women that want to get jacked or shredded in the gym. These are things that are really applicable to everybody's health, especially as you get older. Resistance training is a superior way to work out, in my opinion, and I think in Sal's opinion. So if you want to start reading The Resistance Training Revolution by Sal Stefano, we highly recommend this book. And then our book for the wealth side of the show is Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Rich Dad, Poor Dad is about how Robert Kiyosaki had, essentially, he calls them two dads growing up. He had his rich dad, who was his friend's dad down the street, who taught him and his friend as a kid the secrets of building wealth and how owning businesses and investing is really the key to being rich, and how his poor dad, his actual dad, who was more of that college educated class, was an educator, was more focused on keeping up with the Joneses and doing the things that the majority of people tend to do, buying a bigger house and another bigger house to get the tax advantages and the write-offs that people tell you to do. And so he goes into a lot of just really good themes for growing your wealth, as far as making your money work for you instead of working for money on a time basis. You're not going to get wealthy by spending your time working. You need that money to work for you and generate passive income. There are, as Nick will tell you, some things that Robert Kiyosaki talks about when he describes your balance statements and your income and your expenses and your assets and your liabilities. He breaks this down into a really simple format, which is why we're starting off with Rich Dad, Poor Dad for the book club, kind of like The Resistance Training Revolution, a really basic and fundamental book for this category. But when he breaks these things down and he says your house is actually a liability because you have a mortgage payment, and your assets are things that cash flow.
I mean, technically your house is an asset, but I like what he's trying to get at. You end up spending, it's an expense that you have every month, and it won't ever produce cash. So I understand what he's trying to get at.
The theme behind trying to acquire assets that generate cash flow is a good theme still, and a really good idea. So I think it's important when you read books to realize that you're not going to agree with everything that an author says, but you can still take a lot of really good ideas and themes and messages and facts out of a book. And just because you disagree a little bit with one or two or several things in a book doesn't mean that it's not a book worth reading. I think that kind of highlights where we are today in America, where people don't want to have a discussion if they disagree with someone on something. Like, you should read books that you don't disagree with, So those are the two books that we have for the month of January for the Weights and Wealth official book club. If you start reading these books, please let us know. Please tag us on social media, and we will be sure to repost your post on the books as we try to grow this book club. We think that reading is extremely valuable, as we said, for your personal growth, and reading just 10 minutes a day, as Nick mentioned, can help you read a lot of books.
Yeah, and it really just takes 10 minutes a day, just getting into the rhythm, just setting aside the same time every day just to really read.
Absolutely.
eventually
Make it
becomes a
part
habit.
of your routine and it becomes a habit. Yeah, attach it to your morning routine. Wake up 10 minutes earlier and start reading. Or if you watch Netflix every night, if that's your nightly routine when you get back from work, before you turn on Netflix, hold yourself accountable to reading for 10 or 15 minutes. You know, people say they don't have time, but the average American watches like 2 or 3 hours of TV a day, I think. It's kind of crazy. Those statistics are obviously skewed by binge watching Netflix. We've all done that before, but definitely join the book club. Join us in reading these books, and we look forward to connecting with you more on social media. We have gotten some DMs about going more in depth on some of these topics. Some of the topics along the lines of the IRA or the micronutrient deficiencies. We will be doing a deeper dive on some of these topics that we've gotten a response to in the DMs. So those will be coming. And if you have other topics that you want to learn more about, just be sure to send us a message and share the show with your friends. Leave a review. Help us grow.
Yeah, and as always, thank you all for taking the time to listen to us today. We really appreciate it.